where the system is trying to identify this face.
It's a brave new world, and it's here to stay.
There's no question that with the advance of new technologies, we are on this verge of a surveillance society.
Whether you're in the office, online, or even in a rental car.
We can continue tracking in real time as long as we want to.
The real issue here is whether the individual is going to have any control over the collection and use of information about where they are.
So has technology undermined our right to privacy?
Just going about your day-to-day business, getting watched everywhere you go is kind of spooky.
It's invading their privacy.
But I know that in a lot of cases, they're for our own safety.
The only problem is who's watching you? What are their ethics about?
Tonight, on camera, who's watching the watchers? I empathize with that guy in the television commercial, you know, the one sitting at a crossroad in a car with his wife, and he clearly doesn't know where he is, and she wants him to press the button. In fact, she's getting really nasty about it with her, "Press that button, mister." Only he doesn't want to do it, so she does. At which point this cheery voice materializes, telling them exactly where they're going and how to get there. What they're really telling you is that they've got a bunch of satellites up there in space, and they're able to lock onto some tracking device buried in the bowels of your car, and you're never, ever going to get lost again. To which my instinctive reaction is, if I want to get lost, that's between me and my wife, and if I want directions, I'll stop at a gas station, and anyway, I knew exactly where I was going, and where that is none of your darn business. Which means, if I understand the way things are going these days, that I am destined to be one unhappy camper. I'm not pleased to know that there is an internet company out there which can find information about anyone instantly, business records, social security numbers, unlisted phone numbers, ex-spouse, locate people, criminal records, click here to find out how. No, thank you. That's not my definition of a better world, but I'd better get over it because, as Nightline correspondent John Donovan reports, that's the way it is.
This debate falls under the category of privacy, but more specifically, aren't we really talking about anonymity? The ability not to leave footprints, the ability to get lost in the crowd if that's what we want to do, the ability to tell small lies. You're supposed to be in school, but you're playing hooky at the ballpark. You're supposed to be on your lunch break, but you're trysting on a park bench. You're counting on being disguised as just another face in the crowd, unknown, unaccountable, uninhibited, because no one is watching. You are anonymous.
Because what use is anonymity really, unless you're doing something that you don't want to be seen doing? If I'm on a public street, people can see me, I know that. And with all of the cameras around these days, some of those people probably are deep in a basement somewhere. But I'm not doing anything wrong, so watched by a guy in a basement or watched by passers-by, what's the difference?
Let's admit it, we seem to like the watching part. There are whole TV shows built on it, and websites, and a whole industry of spy gear and gee-whiz wireless miniaturized cameras. And yet, to be the target of surveillance, that bugs people. Yes, the pun's intended. It bugs people when they spot a camera spotting them and realize they're being watched and maybe listened to by people they don't know and cannot see. Like people who have rented cars from Acme Rental. The cars come with GPS systems that can monitor by satellite when the drivers are speeding, and then Acme finds them. And now Acme's being sued. Big Brother and Big Brother and Big Brother and Big Brother. The term is overused, but it does capture the anguish that's been building up for years. In the 80s, we first saw employees protest the way their bosses were listening in on them at work to make sure they weren't slacking off.
The pressure is just undeniably unbelievable.
Well, good morning.
In the present day, it's conservative Republicans for once teamed up with the ACLU.
In many dimensions, I am concerned about the government's use of electronic devices to intrude against the privacy of its citizens.
What Armey is complaining about is a camera used this way. It waits at an intersection for a driver to run a red light, Then it snaps a photo of the license plate and sometimes of the driver's face, and a ticket comes in the mail.
There seems to be a tendency to see the traffic camera as a revenue device as opposed to a traffic safety device.
Another trick is timing you when you get on a toll road and when you get off. The electronic pass, convenient as it is, lets them time you. If you cover ground too quickly, say 25 miles in 15 minutes, that's 100 miles an hour, you get a speeding ticket. An unconstitutional incursion, some say, and un-American too. Back in 1989, when the police state in Czechoslovakia collapsed in 6 weeks of a Velvet Revolution, one of the favorite stories American reporters stumbled on was the communist government's elaborate system of street cameras in Prague that fed back to a central location. The whole tone was, look at what these commies did. 12 years later, Tampa, Florida is putting a similar system into one of its neighborhoods to catch criminals. All right, this is not a police state. The comparison doesn't completely fit. But the Made in America software is something the Prague cops would have loved. The Tampa cameras not only spot you, they match you if you've ever been arrested to a photo with your name on it. Anonymity destroyed. At last year's Super Bowl, Tampa police tested the system on the whole crowd. Nobody knew a thing about it. In Britain, meanwhile, where the police have used street cameras for years, one scientist is working on software that analyzes the way you walk.
We have these mathematical numbers. We can relate them to the cadence of gait. There's frequency there, so we can recognize you by the change in those frequencies or the change in the cadence.
You can see why the police and businesses would go for these things. Cameras put them in a sense where they cannot be. It was a bank's ATM camera that led investigators to one of the key suspects in the World Trade Center bombing. It was a camera on an apartment building that spotted the Ryder truck Timothy McVeigh used in Oklahoma City. There's a theory that one of the best things about cameras is that they deter crimes. Crooks won't act if they know they might be seen. That seems to be the trade-off we're being offered. More law and order in exchange for less anonymity. Except, of course, it's not that simple.
For one thing, the technology is not perfect. That face-matching software, for example, it makes mistakes. It's also not clear whether cameras in one street just push the crooks to the next street. And at any point, surveillance systems can be abused. Security guards have been caught training the camera on good-looking women just for the fun of it. If that can happen, what's to say they won't focus in on people they suspect just perhaps because of the race they are? On the other hand, we have to admit that when it comes to anonymity, well, we don't have as much of that as we used to anyway.
Footprints. We're already leaving them everywhere without thinking about it. You go to work in the morning, go through a toll booth, and the system knows when you were there. You stop to shop at a chain drugstore, you're probably on a camera, and your credit card charge records what you bought and when. You make a cell phone call, the phone company knows who you called, when, and roughly where you are. You get to your job, log onto a computer, go on the internet, and little files called cookies start sticking to your hard drive, revealing to anyone who pries where you've been on the web and when, and so on and so on.
And this has all come without a great deal of public alarm and not really very much protest. And maybe that's because all of these small limits on our anonymity also make life more convenient. Cell phones, for example. But maybe it's because, for many of us, living in a place where other people can see us and gather information on us and exchange that information with other people is an old, old story. It's called living in a small town. No one has ever been anonymous in one of those. I'm John Donovan for Nightline in Washington.
So, how do you balance freedom and privacy with safety and security?
If you're not violating the law, then you should have to worry about it.
I don't like any intrusions against the privacy of the American people.
We'll have that discussion when we come back. My guests tonight are Congressman Dick Armey, the House Majority Leader. Mr. Armey joins us from Capitol Hill. And San Diego Police Chief David Bejarano. San Diego has been using the red light cameras for 3 years and is expanding their use. Chief Bejarano joins us from our affiliate, KGTV. Mr. Majority Leader, where do you draw the line? Which parts of this do you like and which parts of it will you simply not accept?
Well, first of all, I should say, Ted, I don't like any intrusions against the privacy of the American people. I don't like any presumption of guilt until one proves themselves innocent. I don't like any system where you cannot face your accuser, but I particularly do not like it when you cannot demonstrate to me that you have given us the trade-off of improved safety on the streets. In fact, I might even argue that the implementation of the the camera technology actually is done instead of the better technology, which is this simple matter of increasing the size of the orange light or the yellow light. And I believe that, quite frankly, this is more about money than it is about justice.
Chief Bejarano, you guys are using it. You clearly like it. Make the best case for it.
Correct. We've been, I believe, fairly successful in San Diego. We've had the red light photo enforcement program now for about 3 years. And at each one of the intersections, and we have 19 intersections, we've actually seen a 45% decrease in violations. And that's the key for us, is public safety. It's not revenue, but public safety. And the intrusion as far as the privacy is minimal. You have simply you're in a public street, so there's very little expectation of privacy. And when a citation is noted, it's discreetly sent or forwarded or mailed to the alleged violators. So there's minimal intrusion. In fact, if an officer actually saw the violation and that officer made the stop, then there would probably be more into the privacy of an individual, because they're going to be asking for a driver's license, for registration, for insurance, and actually maybe even taking a look inside the car, maybe a search of the vehicle. So again, I believe what I'm trying to do is balance the public safety side of it. I believe there's far more benefits in hopefully preventing accidents and reducing violations.
Now, you made very little of the income side of this, but this is good from a business point of view too, isn't it? It makes money.
Well, of course, again, this is state-of-the-art technology. It's been around for over 20 years, used outside the country in at least 40 U.S. cities in the United States. It's expensive to operate the system. We believe for this fiscal year that the revenues that could be generated from red light photo enforcement could be about $3 million. Keep in mind that
just in your community alone.
Correct. Just in the city of San Diego, that's approximately what we'll probably see as far as revenues. In my opinion, I would love to see zero revenues and no violations and no accidents at all. Again, our priority is public safety. But if we do realize about $3 million in revenues, keep in mind we're going to spend well over $1 million to operate the system, as far as the officers, the court time, and clerical to process the citations. So again, it's public safety, and not how much money can we make.
Congressman Armey, I mean, there's nothing to prevent the citizen from challenging that camera in court.
No, but again, the citizen, bless his heart, he drives home, 2 weeks later he gets a notice in the mail. He must present himself in court if he is to challenge it. And the fact of the matter is, I have to say I'm troubled by the chief's allegation that the cameras have increased safety. The fact of the matter is, you take an intersection in his city, Mission Bay and Grand Avenue, they installed the cameras where in fact there had never been any accidents prior or since. The cameras did nothing to reduce the infractions. In fact, the cameras actually increased infractions until they did a simple thing, increased the yellow light by 1.5 seconds, in which case the infractions went to zero. That yellow light protocol was there expense-free, without any of this intrusion in the rights of people to use that intersection. I don't believe you can make a demonstration of fact that these red light cameras have increased the safety of the intersections at all.
Now,
I
Chief,
just don't think the facts are there.
Someone on the congressman's staff has clearly been doing a little bit of research for him in your backyard. Has he got it right?
Well, correct. In fact, the standards on the yellow lights are established by the California Department of Transportation. And then traffic engineering actually goes out and sets the timing for the yellow lights. So it's not the police department, it's not the vendor, Lockheed Martin. And as I mentioned before, we actually have reviewed all of the citations over 3 years, all 19 intersections, and we did see a 45% reduction in violations. And it's true, in a few intersections we found a few more accidents than prior to the red light photo enforcement. At some intersections, we saw no change at all. And at several intersections, we actually saw an increase in traffic accidents.
Let me stop you there. Let me
Sure.
stop you there for a moment, Chief, because I don't want to spend the entire broadcast just talking about the red light photos here. I really want to get a sense of whether you believe that wherever there is technology that can help you in any way in catching someone who's doing something wrong, would you just generally across the board be in favor of that technology?
Well, generally, I would be in favor of it, but keep in mind that I want to make sure we also maintain the trust and confidence in the community as far as the use of the technology. So we've taken a lot of pride in San Diego in working with the communities, so it's important to maintain that confidence and integrity as far as any system that we use. And again, we have been, there's nothing to hide here. Anytime we have a photo enforcement program intersection, we do a lot of publication through TV and news media to make sure people know that where these actual intersections are activated with a red light photo enforcement. There's no surprises.
All right, we got to take a short break. When we come back, Congressman Armey, I want to get the flip side of that, whether in fact there is any part of this that you find acceptable. And in any case, is there anything we can ever do about it, or do we just have to learn to live with it? Back with our guests in a moment. And we're back once again with House Majority Leader Dick Armey and San Diego Police Chief David Bejarano. Congressman Armey, clearly there are some parts of this technology that we've gotten accustomed to. We all know the speed guns. We know they work, the radar guns. We've learned to live with them. We've learned to live with the fact that under certain conditions, wiretaps are acceptable. Fingerprints, obviously, do not give someone the immediate ability to confront an accuser. Those fingerprints operate on their own. What is it about certain aspects of this that you don't like?
Well, first of all, to a large extent, you bypass the regular police function. The fact is the speed gun that's operated by the officer in the street from his car is operated by a police officer. These red lights are operated by a private contract. The whole thing is subcontracted over. But the more important thing, the thing that really gets me, and I have to say, Chief, I admire your San Diego police. I got to know some of them when I was there. These are good, conscientious law enforcement people, and I would bet you they would never dream of taking the most heinous felon, committing the most heinous crime, putting him under arrest without reading him his Miranda rights. And yet, on the average citizen driving down the street has his rights to face his accuser, his right to be assumed innocent until proven guilty, just trampled on by these devices. And again, I would say, with no clear demonstration that his safety has been improved whatsoever.
Now, wait a second. If I get stopped running a red light, nobody has to read me a Miranda right. The cop hands me a ticket, and that's all there is to it. And if I choose to challenge it, I can go to court.
That's right. But the cop also identifies who you are, and I think it's a good thing for him to verify that it is indeed you. Let's put it this way. Let's say that you're a citizen of San Diego and you have decided to take a 2-month vacation in Europe. You take off, you leave your car with your son or daughter. The car goes through an intersection. Notice comes to your mail. You're not there. That notice says if you don't answer this in 2 weeks, you're in contempt of court. Here you are vacationing in Europe, and all of a sudden you are in fact guilty of a very serious crime, being in contempt of court, and you didn't even know you were tagged. Because why? There was no officer that verified who was in the car.
Let me just be sure that I understand. Is this, as far as you're concerned, a one-issue mantra, or are there any other aspects of invasion of privacy that bother you just as much?
Oh, the whole use of modern electronics has got me worried, whether it's the method in which they might tap your email, indiscriminately tapping everybody from that same ISP as you are, from the business poor. All these poor souls that went to the Super Bowl thinking they were having a good time didn't realize they were in a police lineup all the time. What business of that is the government to intrude against their day? To tracking people in the neighborhood. We have the problem with this technology is once you get it, you move forward. And remember, poor old Judge Bork might have been in the Supreme Court if somebody hadn't been able to determine what movies he'd been renting. Now with this technology, they might be able to determine any number of things that might keep me out of my next best job.
Well, God forbid that should ever happen. But I mean, what in point of fact are you recommending be done about that? You're one of the few men in America who, if he chose to, could actually do something about it. What are you going to do?
First of all, I think the federal government needs to alert people to the extent to which their individual rights guaranteed under the Constitution may be violated by local decisions of this nature. Secondly, when there are federal guidelines, as there are with respect to the yellow light protocol, they need to be sustained rather than to be rewritten in deference to the red light protocol. So the federal government's implicated in this. And there's a limit to what I can do. I certainly don't want to dictate to San Diego how they conduct law enforcement in their city, but I do think I have an obligation to raise the constitutional rights questions before their citizens.
Chief Bejarano, I'm afraid we're just about out of time. Is there any aspect of this that you have problems with? I don't mean the red light issue. I just mean the technology intruding into privacy.
Well, again, keep in mind that as long as there's minimal intrusion and you can articulate that the benefits outweigh the privacy rights, what we're looking at is public safety. They have been used to prevent crime and to identify criminals and also to be candid with the community, so they are aware of where these cameras might be posted. Also keep in mind that if you're in public, there's really not an expectation of privacy, and if you're not violating the law, then you should have to worry about it.
All right,
Let me say, if I may,
go ahead.
The person not violating the law is the person with the highest stake in having his privacy rights respected.
And on that note, let me thank you both, Congressman Armey, Chief Bejarano. Good of you to join us. That's our report for tonight. I'm Ted Koppel in Washington. For all of us here at ABC News, good night.